Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and we are now live for a transfer news show, a transfer news update show, and just obviously still recovering from the horrible feeling that is the loss to Villarreal last night. There's a lot to talk about today because a lot of transfer news has come out. Is it a PR spin? News about us getting Pau Torres, news about us getting Declan Rice. What is this story? Is it from a reliable source, or is it a PR spin from Manchester United? Now the season is done, it looks like Manchester United will now focus on Sancho and getting the Jadon SANCHO deal over the line. So I'll be giving you the latest news on Jadon SANCHO that's come from people like Christian Folk, Fabrizio Romano, and a lot of other reliable journalists. So we're going to be talking about Jadon SANCHO, the latest on Jadon SANCHO. We'll talk about the other rumours. Is it a PR spin? Because it's ironic that we are getting linked to Declan Rice and saying we're going to sign Declan Rice, Harry Kane, and Pau Torres the day after we lose a final and all the fans are annoyed. Classic Man United. Could that be a PR spin? But one of them has a fair story in it. We're talking about Manchester United now in for a CDM. Who are Man United CDM options? The Sancho latest and more. And of course, is Ollie's job on the line? Could Ollie's job be on the line? What's the latest on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job? What's the updates on the loss? We'll be talking about the loss, reading out the live chats and more. So we've got a lot to talk about, guys. But I have to say, I still feel horrible from yesterday's defeat. I still feel horrible from yesterday's defeat. We've got a lot of things in the live chat, and I will read out a lot of the live chats once I get past the transfer news and all of that. But I feel horrible. I feel sad. I really wanted to win. I really, really wanted to win yesterday. We all wanted to win. If you didn't want to win, I think that would be a bit weird if you were a United fan and you didn't want to win. But obviously, the season is now done, which means Manchester United will now focus on transfers, and there's a lot of transfer news regarding Manchester United. We've obviously got Tom Heaton as our first signing. Who's going to leave? Who's going to come? This is when the transfer news heats up. And Fabrizio Romano did a Here We Go podcast yesterday, and there's been some more news that's come out today. Ironic, lots of positive transfer news comes out the day after we lose, and I will be covering all of that as well as addressing some of you guys' live chats, giving my thoughts. And yeah, everybody put in the live chat or in the comments if you're not watching live, how are you feeling right now? Because I'm still sad about it. I'm still salty. I'm still sad about it at the moment. I don't like the fact that we've lost at all. But Fabrizio Romano came out yesterday and said Manchester United will focus on the Europa League final, but that's done. Immediately after that, which is now, there is a meeting with executives and Solskjaer to decide on targets. Keep a close eye on Jadon SANCHO this summer, as his price will be lesser this summer. At the moment, no bid. So Fabrizio Romano, the most reliable guy in football, basically has come out and said right after the Europa League final, which is now, there's going to be a meeting about Man United transfers, and he tells us we should keep an eye on Jadon SANCHO, because what he's hinting at is Jadon SANCHO's price is cheaper this summer. Man United will probably be willing to pay that price, but Fabrizio Romano can't say it's going to happen because you can't say that with United. But what he's saying is, I'd keep an eye on Jadon SANCHO. I think there's a strong chance it will happen. And it's very good that that's come from Fabrizio Romano. He's saying his price is less. He thinks there's a strong chance it will happen. And now the Europa League's done, and it didn't end how we wanted it to end. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, the Jadon SANCHO situation is going to massively heat up in the next week. Is it something that'll get done after the Euros? Ollie is not getting sacked. We will talk about that later in the video. I don't think Ollie will be sacked, but there's just a few rumours coming out, about Conte to Man United in a few comments. And we'll be talking about the future of Ollie come later in the video. But please hit that like button if you haven't already. And of course, subscribe down below. I'm going to get into the stories and I'm going to read out a few of my live chats. So that was the first story that came from Fabrizio Romano. I'll talk about the Sancho news, and then I want to talk about the Declan Rice news, and then I'll talk about the Pau Torres news. And also news about us going for a holding midfielder. So Jack Rosser from Standard Sport said that a holding midfielder is thought to be Manchester United's priority this summer, along with a central defender and a fresh approach for Borussia Dortmund and England forward Jadon SANCHO. So Jack Rosser from Standard Sport is not tier 1, but he's not mirror or star level, just an average journalist, in my opinion, has said Man United's priority is Jadon SANCHO, a CDM and a centre-back. And all the fans want Sancho a CDM and a centre-back. And it's come out the day after we lose. So I think when it comes to English journalists, English journalists get information from a club. And I always think if an English journalist says something the day after we lose, you can't always take it into account because it just be the club leaking things. It's part of PR spin. If Fabrizio Romano comes out and says something, or someone that's not English like Di Marzio or someone German, it's fine. But when English journalists come out the day after we lose, I always feel like, has the club leaked this news to the English press? Has the club leaked this news to the English press? We will be talking about situation and all of that. But obviously, as I said, I'm going to address the Sancho news first. Then we'll talk about the other news. There's also a story linking us to Cristiano Ronaldo. which has actually come from quite a reliable journalist as well. So I will look at that in a second. But here was a really interesting thing Fabrizio Romano said, which I'm going to read out because I thought it was a really, really interesting point that Fabrizio made. So just bear with me a sec. They said not Fabrizio Romano, sorry. No, it is Fabrizio Romano. Fabrizio Romano said Manchester United are in touch with people around Jadon Sancho. So obviously we know Man United obviously made contact with Jadon Sancho. They've agreed everything with Jadon Sancho. Fabrizio Romano yesterday on his Here We Go podcast said that Manchester United are in touch with people around Jadon Sancho. The price will be 90 million euros. At the moment, United have not made official bid. He's saying, look, we're in touch with people around Sancho. We're probably in touch with people around Dortmund. We're in touch with people around the deal. So, it's sort of making contact and all of that. We're making a little bit of contact, but no official bid has been made yet. So maybe we're preparing a bid of 90 million euros. As Fabrizio Romano said yesterday, keep an eye on Sancho. It's going to be cheaper. We are in touch with people around Sancho once again. So we really are looking to make a move. I think if we weren't generally going to go for Sancho this summer, we wouldn't even be in touch with people around him. And it's going to be 90 million euros, which is 77 million pounds, which we can afford. But he says, obviously, no official bid. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see because obviously we've got a good week really until Sancho and the Euros go. But could Man United get a deal done in the next week? Probably not because it's United and we're slow at transfers. But they might want to surprise us. They're saying, we got this new transfer system in place. It's going to be different. Well, sure, as everything's done with Sancho. I think the Sancho deal, they could get done in the next week. If we were run like Manchester City, if we were run like Chelsea, we could probably get Sancho over the line in the next week because obviously everything's agreed with us and Sancho. We just have to go to Dortmund and offer them money. And, there's obviously a lot more to it than that. But ironically, we just have to go to Dortmund and offer them money. And obviously a little bit of contact's been made. Will Sancho happen in the coming weeks? It's 100% possible. But, if we were Chelsea or we were Man City, I'll be keeping an eye out on this if we were run like Chelsea or Man City. If you just don't know we're United, I feel like Sancho is the priority deal. We know Sancho's the priority transfer, and hopefully we will get Sancho at the start of the summer. But it would be classic United to wait till after the Euros and drag it on because they might be able to think they have Sancho cheaper. But I think Dortmund are very, very desperate to sell Jadon Sancho as well. Dortmund are in a position where they've made a big loss of 75 million euros this summer. Obviously, they want to get a Sancho replacement done. They want to organise a Sancho replacement, but they can't organise a Sancho replacement until Sancho goes. So I think Dortmund want this deal done, and Dortmund might be in another situation where they do set a deadline to sell Sancho by and all of that. But it's difficult with the Euros this summer because United might use the Euros as an excuse to put off deals for a later date. But we'll have to definitely keep an eye on that. But I think the news around Sancho is positive, and I don't think it's a PR spin because it's come out yesterday and some today, and it's from non-English journalists. I always think when it's from an English journalist, the day after we lose, PR spin. But I don't think Sancho, I think, could happen. Now, a journalist called Berger PJ. Now, I'm very unaware with this journalist, but what he said basically makes sense, to be fair. He says there is no official talks or bid for Sancho yet. So no official, nothing officially going down, just a few bits of contact made. Dortmund are already targeting successes, but they don't have the pressure to sell. Sancho hopes to have clarity before the Euros, but seems unlikely. A long summer is expected again, which, is really, really concerning because it could be another summer where, are we going to get Sancho? Are we not going to get Sancho? Are we going to drag the deal out? Are Dortmund going to get fed up and be like, no, he's not for sale anymore? I think Man United could get Sancho done in the next week if we were a serious club that really, really cared. But you know what United are like? They're going to probably wait till after Euros, drag out this deal. But the season is done. We now focus on transfers, as said. And Jadon Sancho was a transfer we're focusing on last summer. And we got 90% of the Jadon Sancho transfer done last summer. We just had to agree on a price. So if we're basically in the same situation we were for Sancho last summer than we are today, we're literally in the same situation as we were last summer for Sancho that we are today, but he's cheaper. Everything's done with us and Sancho. So realistically, you could probably get this deal done. But it's Man United. We're not efficient with transfers. And this journalist said, look, Sancho wants clarity before the Euros, but it's unlikely. It could be a long summer for Man United again. Probably trying to see if they can get £5 million off Jadon Sancho. And that doesn't surprise me. We've been offered Jadon Sancho for £77 million, which for me is a fucking bargain. Nicolas Pepe was like the same price, and Sancho's 21, young English talent. But it would not surprise me if Man United tried to get Sancho for 60 million quid. I say, Man United, you were willing to spend 100 million quid for Sancho last summer, but you wouldn't spend 108 million. So I'm pretty sure you can pay 77 million for Sancho this summer, especially if he's this priority target. So, will it be United trying to hang around with the Sancho deal and wait months to get the Sancho deal done rather than pay the full price? Because knowing Man United, you just know what they're like. They'll probably want to wait a couple of weeks for Sanchez to see if they get 5 million off. Realise they're not going to get 5 million off. But I think, Man United aren't under that much pressure because unless Hudson-Odoi leaves, he's not going to go to Chelsea. And he wants United over Chelsea. But it'd be interesting to see where that goes. I will read out some of the live chats in just a sec, guys, so don't you worry. But I was just wanted to update everyone on the whole Sancho situation, and I also want to update people on this Declan Rice news to Manchester United coming out. Now, it's come from Jack Rosser from The Standard, I think. And he says Manchester United are keen to test West Ham's resolve over Declan Rice when the transfer window opens with a bid. So apparently, this journalist is saying that Man United are going to make a bid for Declan Rice when the transfer window opens. And to be fair, West Ham want Jesse Lingard, so could Jesse Lingard be part of this bid? Who knows? But again, English journalist, the day after we lost, credibility goes down the drain. He's also said that sources within West Ham have knocked back any question of Rice's sale this summer, and the club have no contact from Old Trafford over a deal as of yet, though Manchester United remain keen to try their luck. He's basically saying West Ham aren't interested in selling Rice, but Man United want to offer West Ham some money and test the water and see if they would actually cash in on Rice if the money came. And West Ham are a club where if you give them 80 million for one of their players, they'll be like, oh, we'll take it, because they are very much a club one like that. But the other thing he said is that Declan Rice has no pressure or desire to leave West Ham this summer. They finished in Europe, so that doesn't surprise me. But I think if Man U comes knocking on your door and West Ham accept that, then I'm sure he'd go to Man United. But I believe that Declan Rice's priority probably would be Chelsea, to be fair. Now, another article came out from Jamie Jackson, which kind of links to the whole Declan Rice situation, where he says Solskjaer wants to strengthen Manchester United in the centre-back, midfield, wide attacker, and number 9 position. He said with Pau Torres, Declan Rice, Jadon SANCHO, and Harry Kane preferred as amongst targets, the credibility goes down the drain with this story, because I just think, well, we know we're not going to get Kane this summer because Cavani's signed another year. But again, it's just another English journalist saying Declan Rice. Another English journalist saying Declan Rice. And then, a few days ago, James Cooper, before we lost in the Champions League, was saying that Man United do, in fact, want a CDM because they want Pogba to stay and be in a 3-8 role and Bruno with an 8 role. And he talked about Manchester United wanting a CDM, Pogba, Bruno in the field. He sort of said something like that, James Cooper. So, a week ago, I felt like we weren't going to get a CDM, but there's a little bit of stories about Man United getting a CDM. And one final story before I address some of your live chats, some of your thoughts. If you have any questions or comments or anything, just get them in the live chat. I'm going to read out a load of my live chats, and of course hit the like button. But apparently George Mendes recently met with the Glazers to discuss the possibility of a transfer of Cristiano Ronaldo. Sources inside Juventus have now admitted he could leave Turin on his own terms, from Leah Smith, which is interesting. I don't think we're going to get Ronaldo. It's just a meeting, but it'll be interesting to see if anything happens in Ronaldo to Man United. But I'm not too much keeping an eye on Ronaldo to Manchester United, because I don't think we're going to get personally Ronaldo. Now, I'm going to scroll up, we'll read a few more live chats, and then we'll address a little bit more transfer news. But Nick Morris says, Christian Falk said today that Dortmund are not selling Sancho until after the Euros. Now, hopefully to raise his price and get more money. Yeah, I think Christian Falk was on the United stand today. I haven't actually watched it, but a few quotes have come out from, obviously, that article that I probably will read later on in the video. A few quotes come out. But I think Sancho won't happen until after the Euros, because I don't think Man United can get a deal done before the Euros, because we're just crap at transfers. You've got to think it took us 8 weeks to get Wan-Bissaka, 8 weeks to get Maguire, basically 2 transfer windows to get Bruno Fernandes. With a deal as big as Sancho, I think it will take Man United weeks to do. Even though everything between Sancho and Man United is done, it just will take Man United weeks to agree something with Sancho. You just know what Manchester United are like with transfers. They're very, very inefficient with transfers. And I think it's going to be one of them situations where I think we will get Sancho, but I think it will definitely drag on this window. Jadon's best mate to play with is Rashi, man said himself. Yeah, Jadon and Rashford are best friends. Jadon Sancho obviously kind of grew up in Manchester in his later years, so he's got a lot of friends in Manchester. But of course, please hit the like button and subscribe down below if you're not subscribed. Since Ferguson left, Ollie had more time than any other manager. Has been here 2.5 years, started well, then downhill. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't win a trophy next year, he'll have to go, but we will be talking about that later on in the video. We'll be talking about the future of Ole. Anto says he thinks Sancho will stay another season at Dortmund. I don't think Sancho will stay another season at Dortmund, because I think at the end of the day, if we fail to get him, he'll just go to Chelsea. Sancho wants his move. He's been told he'll get his move if a club puts the money in for him. He'd already stayed an extra year last summer. I'm pretty confident. Sancho's more likely to leave Dortmund this summer than Kane is to leave Spurs. I tell you that now. What world-class player would you want to join Man United? I mean, if I could have any signing in the world right now, I'd probably say Kimmich from Bayern Munich, but that's not realistic. Also said United want Koeman from Bayern and will pay £200,000 a week if he, as Bayern are not willing to pay him it. That's an interesting story I haven't read much about. maybe it's something to keep an eye on if the Sancho deal falls through. If we bottle the Sancho deal, it's something to keep an eye on. But again, unless Chelsea come in with a strong bid and look to sell Hudson-Odoi and all of that, I do think that Manchester United will land Jadon Sancho. John Tay says, if the Glazers do not sign a new CDM centre-back and right wing, I will never watch Man United again until Glazer's out. Strong statement from there. And yeah, everybody let me know how you're feeling about yesterday's result. Let me know how you're feeling about the Sancho deal. Do you think Man United will get any transfers done in the next month? Or do you just think Manchester United are going to delay all transfers to after the Euros? I think we're in a situation where, you know, a lot's going to happen with Man United in the next month and approaching to transfers. And I think, but you don't know with Man United. Because it looks like we're going to have a strong summer. There's a lot of indications we're going to have a strong summer. And there's a lot of indications we're going to sign Sancho. And there's news that we want a centre-back and a CDM as well. And I think at the end of the day, I think we'll sign Sancho and a centre-back. I can't say as much for a CDM because that's not been as strongly linked as Sancho and a centre-back. But it's going to be one of those things. Is anything really going to happen over the Euros? Who knows? Who knows? That journalist worked for Edward, but Edward would have paid him money to butter up the fans. Yeah, I think everything that's come from an English journalist today, as I said, isn't much in it. The Jadon Sancho news isn't coming from English journalists. The Jadon Sancho news has been out the last few days, and I think the Jadon Sancho to Manchester United situation is a situation that will happen. The news for that is legit. But I think a lot of these Declan Rice rumors, a lot of these Declan Rice links today could be a potential transfer PR spin. You know, that apparently we're going to make a bid for Declan Rice and all of that, but you just don't know with Man United because it could very much just be a PR spin from the Glazers and all of that. You just never know. You never know, guys. Please hit that like button, subscribe down below, and let me know in the live chat who do you want Manchester United to sign this summer. I'm really interested to see who you guys want Man United to sign. There's some of my thoughts on Rashford. I feel a bit bad for Rashford because Rashford wasn't very good yesterday. But you can't. For me, I don't blame Rashford for being crap yesterday. I blame Ollie for overplaying him. He's clearly burnt out. Rashford clearly needs a rest. And I think, you know, he didn't have a good performance, but he just got so much abuse on social media. And I just say, look, if you're watching, don't abuse the players or anything. You can say they've had a bad performance. You can say they're not good enough, but you have to, at the end of the day, support them. That are players. Just be like, head up, better luck next time. Not good enough. Do you know what I mean? Like anyone that's here, just don't abuse the players and stuff. I do feel a little bit sorry for Rashford. Only 77 likes needed for 100 likes, guys. So keep slapping that like button. We can even swap Sancho with Jones. Mata Rashford, haha. But last night we do need a world-class signing for centre-back CDM as well. Man United, many ups and downs with the squad. Yeah, exactly. There's all this Sancho news. We're very, very strongly linked to Jadon Sancho. The Sancho transfer rumours are heating up. There's obviously a little bit of contact that's been made in terms of Sancho. But I agree, you know, even though Sancho looks like he's going to be our main signing this summer, and when we eventually do sign Sancho, because I believe we will sign Sancho, but you just don't know with Man United. But it looks like Sancho's going to be our main transfer signing. But if we do sign Sancho, we can't let us distract that from the fact that we still need a centre-back and a CDM, and we really have to push to try and, you know, convince the Glazers for a centre-back and a CDM. So, yeah, I think we are going to sign Sancho, but we can't let us distract that from the fact that Man United need a centre-back and a CDM. If Rice do not come, no matter so many options for CDM like Sakari, Ocatelli, and Didi. There's a lot of options out there for CDM. Declan Rice is the only CDM we're getting linked to as of now, but I just think it's a PR spin because I think if we're going to sign a CDM this summer, I don't think it will be Declan Rice, even though we can use Lingard to lower Declan Rice's price. The news has come out from the most reliable journalists in football, like Fabrizio Romano, and all the top journalists have said Man United number one priority is Jadon Sancho, who will cost £77 million. If Jadon Sancho is going to cost us £77 million and he's our number one priority, he's the one we're going to go all out for, I don't think we spend 90 million on Declan Rice in the same window when Sancho's number one priority, centre-back's number two priority, and CDM's number three priority. I think it will be Sancho for £77 million, potentially a £50 million centre-back, but I think that leaves you with a £30 million CDM max. So the story's linking us to Declan Rice. I'd be absolutely shocked if we signed Declan Rice. Unless Pog believes we won't sign Declan Rice, I don't think. I think the news that's saying we're going to make a bid for Declan Rice that's come out today could be a PR spin to distract us from the loss. I think if we're going to sign a CDM, there's a lot of good options out there. Now, I like Declan Rice. I think it's one of the best options we can get. But value for penny, Declan Rice, 90 million. Locatelli, Kessie, Sakaria, probably 30 million, no more than 40 million. Half the price of Declan Rice. You know, and Didi could go down in price because of Sumer. There's a lot of good CDMs out there, and I think, as we know from the reliable journalists, Sancho's number one target. Number two target is a centre-back, probably Varane. That's 50 million. 75 plus 50 million, 125 million. Unless a big player goes like Martial or Pogba, where we can raise funds, Or maybe we get money for a goalie and get money for Lingard. I don't think we will get Declan Rice. And I do think this Declan Rice transfer rumour could be a PR spin. Have Arsenal had a better season than Man United because they won the Community Shield? I mean, they'll try and claim that, won't they? But I mean, would you rather finish 8th and get a Community Shield or finish 2nd with no trophy? A Community Shield's barely a trophy; it's a shield, if you get what I mean. The CR7 transfer news is how much Ed is paying the journalist to batter that up. Yeah, literally. I don't believe anything in the whole Sancho in the whole Cristiano Ronaldo to Manchester United news. If Man United get Sancho in summer, they can get him in January. Well, Man United should have got Sancho last summer. I think Sancho's a signing that's so big it would only be a summer signing. And I think, Sancho will want to move this summer, and I think we will get him in the summer. But you never know with United. We did push for Bruno to get in January when we went to get him in the summer. But you never know with Man United. Please, guys, please keep hitting that like button, subscribe down below, and share this video. I'm going to get into a lot more transfer news in just a second. I'm going to read out a few more comments, and I'm going to get into the next bunch of transfer news that's come out today. It says, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should have been sacked last night, and the Glazers should sell Man United £4 billion to Mohammed bin Salem ASAP. I mean, I wish the Glazers would sell, but they won't. Sancho isn't the only right wing in the world, and Coman is worth bidding with, says Passion Merchant. Yeah, I mean, he's not, but I think Sancho's the right winger best suited for Manchester United, and I think at the end of the day, the downfall at Manchester United, in the recent years is the transfer market and the fact that we get our managers the 3rd or 4th choice signing. If Sancho's Ole's first choice signing, get him his first choice right wing. If Varane is Ole's first choice centre back, get him his first choice centre back. If Rice is Ole's first choice CDM, get him Rice. Get the manager's first choice. Just because Coman's cheaper than Sancho is another option doesn't mean he could be a better transfer. And I always just think, unless Coman's our first choice, get Sancho this summer. And that's what I say, because Coman is injury prone, as this comment said. And yeah, I don't think we'd want Sancho. If we sign Sancho, it's not Greenwood who's getting benched. If we sign Sancho, he'll play mostly on the right and Greenwood will go more to the middle because Cavani's not fit enough to play a full season through the middle because he's coming to the end of his career. And I think, I don't think signing Sancho really affects Greenwood because Greenwood will become a striker. I would swap Daniel James and Jesse Lingard for Wilfred and Ndidi and Yuri Tielemans. I mean, that would be the swap deal of the century, but it's never going to happen. But I would do that as well if I was you. Anto says, Manchester United need massive changes. Jadon SANCHO, Rice and a centre-back cannot make Manchester United title pretenders because most of the players are doing average bad. I do think Jadon SANCHO, Rice and Rafael Varane will make us a very, very strong squad and, put us up a level. If we don't invest this summer, we are battling it out for 4th because Liverpool are going to be better next season. Chelsea are 100% going to be better next season. And Manchester City are already the best and they're going to improve next season. We got 2nd because Liverpool were weak and Lampard fucked up the first half of the season for Chelsea. Liverpool fitter and better next season. Chelsea fitter and better next season. If we don't invest, we'll fall behind Liverpool, Chelsea and Man City. And we'll be in that slumber with Spurs and Arsenal battling for 4th. If we invest, it just continually puts us at the top. It doesn't look. I want to win a title, and those free signings don't necessarily mean we're going to win a title. But those free signings mean we're comfortably up there with Liverpool, Chelsea, and City, rather than falling behind because they're investing another summer and we're not. That's what I kind of mean. But yeah, I'm going to read out a little bit more transfer news in just a second. But again, it's ironic that all this transfer news comes out the day after Manchester United lose and stuff. And look, talking on the Villarreal loss yesterday, I still feel so frustrated and annoyed and upset. That's the trophy, 5 seasons without a trophy or 5 years without a trophy. It's very, very depressing. I think, we should have a trophy by now. And, we had to play. All we had to do to win that trophy was beat a 7th place La Liga team. It's not we're playing prime Bayern Munich of last year with Lewandowski up front. It's very, very frustrating that we didn't win and we went out the Europa League because I think we're in a position where we were in the best position we could to win the Europa League and we didn't. And it's just such a shame. It's just such a shame. And it's really, really frustrating, but there's nothing we can do about it now. We just have to move on and be like, thank fuck we're not in the Europa League next season unless we bought the Champions League. But yeah, I mean, talking of the Europa League, Bruno Fernandes and Cavani are involved in the Who Scored Europa Leagues team of their knockout stage, but no one gives a fuck. Let's be honest. So here's some more transfer news that's come out lately. Now this one's come out from Berger of Sport 1. He says that FC Nordsjælland attacker, don't know if I said that right, Kamaladin Suleiman is on the verge to join Ajax. The clubs agreed a long time deal. Man United and Bayern Leverkusen were also interested, but I don't know who that player is, and I probably didn't pronounce his name right, so it's not a thing. Now, talking of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future. Is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future under jeopardy because he lost the Europa League final. Is the pressure on? Well, I think if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't bring back a trophy or show significant improvement or next season, he will be gone, because I think he's had his 2 progression seasons, but you have to do something about it next season. We can't just finish second best in all these competitions. He has to show some mentality to make the subs, to make a change. But there's no indication that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be sacked because of the loss. Mike McGrath came out and said Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be backed with a new contract and summer signings in the transfer window, spearheaded by outgoing executive vice chairman Ed fucking Woodward. Well, it just says Ed Woodward, but you know what I mean. He's saying Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's here to stay. Apparently, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's still going to be offered a new 3-year contract at Manchester United, and he will be backed in the summer. He will be backed. Fucking hell, I don't believe you. But we'll see if Ole gets back. We will see if Ole gets back. He also says that Solskjaer has 1 year left on his current deal and will open talks about a 3-year extension. He will also be supported with up to 4 signings to bolster his squads in attempts to close the gap on Manchester City. So apparently, Man United are going to make 4 signings this summer, and they're going to go all out and back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So is this not a bit weird that we're saying we're going to sign 4 signings and we're going to full out back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the day after we lose a final from an English journalist? I think it's a little bit, it's a little bit sketchy for me. It's a little bit sketchy for me, but you never know. We could sign 4 players, but those 4 players could be Tyrone Mings, a player from the Championship, and a player from League One. But you never know. That was the other little bit of news. Now, he also talks about Jadon SANCHO, and the Jadon SANCHO news is legit, in my opinion. This us getting Harry Kane, Declan Rice stuff, I don't believe it. But when we hear Jadon SANCHO news, I do believe it. And he said regarding Jadon SANCHO is Solskjaer's primary target as a wide forward, which is a key position to strengthen. The United manager would also like a striker, young central midfielder, and a defender. That's what he has obviously said regarding Sancho. So the news that's come out from 3 or 4 different English journalists basically saying the same thing, that United wants Sancho, a striker, a young CDM, and a defender. Now, the fact that it's come out from 3 or 4 different English journalists does make me think the club has leaked it as part of a PR spin, because we know we want Sancho, that's legit. But now we want a striker, a young CDM, and a defender. And I think the fact that they said we want a striker is because they want some fans to believe we're going to get Harry Kane to distract them from the loss. We are not going to get Harry Kane. And there's just so much transfer news about Man United, but you don't know if you can believe it or not, because every time we lose a big game like that, the next day we're linked to every player under the sun. We're going to be told we're going to get every player under the sun. And, unless I see it, I don't know if I can believe it. But I do believe the Jadon Sancho story, of course, but not really many of the others. Now, he also said Dortmund are understood to be desperate to sell this summer to raise money, while a list of outgoings could be headed by potential sale of either De Gea or Henderson, with both unhappy at the prospect of a number 2 shirt. We'll be talking about the goalkeeper situation a little bit later on in the stream. Who stays, who leaves? Let me know right now in the live chat or in the comments if you're not watching live. De Gea or Dean Henderson? Who would you sell? De Gea or would you sell Dean Henderson? Let me know. Another story that came out is that Sancho was a Man United target a year ago, but a deal could not be struck with Dortmund, who refused to lower the price from £108 million. As we know, he's expected to leave this summer for a lower fee, and he's Solskjaer's first choice wide forward. That's the story coming out from a lot of journalists today. We basically already know that. Now, one player we were linked with today is Edouard Camavinga. And, Man United lose, Rice and Camavinga we're linked to. Wow, Camavinga's a player that we get linked to whenever we lose a game, I feel like. Is he that signing that if we lose, let's distract them and say we're getting Camavinga? But I will read out the story regarding Camavinga as well, and of course I will get in and read out some more live chats. But Manchester United would like to bring young central midfielder, one would mould Rennes, Edouard Camavinga, but it would be a player for the future rather than immediate impact. Which is weird, because I feel like we need a CDM that's going to come right in that squad so we can play CDM Pogba Bruno. But they're saying that Man United only want a CDM for the future. And I'm like, well, we've got James Garner for the future, so surely you want a CDM that's going to come in now. For me, that story does not make sense. And personally, I don't get it. But you don't know. You don't know with that. But talking of Donny van der Beek and Paul Pogba, and I said, look, I don't think we will sign a top CDM. I think we can sign a CDM, but I don't think we'll find a top CDM that walks straight to the starting 11 unless something happens with Donny van der Beek or Paul Pogba leaving. Now, the situation is Donny van der Beek will look for assurances over where he stands at Manchester United in the Manchester United squad after the £40 million signing last summer. He was an unused substitute at the final. I think it's an absolute disgrace that Donny didn't get minutes in the final, and I talked about that a lot yesterday. But Donny van de Beek will be looking over assurances what his role is in the squad. He wants to play next season. And Paul Pogba's situation will also be in sharp focus now with one season left on his contract. There's no definitive indication of how United will approach the possibility of the £89 million signing, leaving as a free agent. Will Pogba leave as a free agent? Will Pogba sign a deal? I think that's a very, very worrying thing. I think we could lose Pogba for free because I don't think we're going to sell Pogba this summer because I think we're convinced he's going to sign a new contract. But I couldn't sit it comfortably and say Pogba's going to sign a new contract. And I say, do we have Pogba for another year and just let him go for free, or do we cash in on Pogba now? What do you think? Now, I say only cash in on Pogba if that money's going to be reinvested. But I hope Pogba stays. But there's not, we've lost the final. Why would Paul Pogba want to stay for a team that can't beat Villarreal in a final and a manager that played such negative football to take it to penalties? You just don't know. You don't know. And that's a very, very worrying thing. Now, Jamie Jackson said that although Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is conscious that adding 4 signings is unlikely given estimated total cost of more than 300 million and availability of players. So they're basically saying we're going to sign 4 players and then they say, oh, it's unlikely. English press for you, PR spin come from the club, written all over it. But yeah, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer apparently wants a right wing, a CEO, and a centre back, and that's the news coming in today. If you're new, regarding Jadon SANCHO and all of that, and then Manchester United are actually expected to hand Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a new contract. So there's a lot of questions of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future. Will he be sacked? Will he stay? But the news coming in is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to sign a new 3-year deal at Manchester United as well, and that apparently Solskjaer wants to bring 4 signings to Manchester United to win them the Premier League, and those 4 signings are believed to be Declan Rice, Pau Torres, Jadon SANCHO, and Harry Kane. But again, the stories come from 5-6 different English journalists the day after we lost, making me think Woodward or someone in Man United is to leak the same story to all the English press to try and distract us fans. The only stories that have credibility in them right now regarding Manchester United transfers are from foreign journalists, because I think the United have just leaked a massive PR spin to the press to try and distract us from the loss that we had yesterday. People, we don't know if Paul Pogba's going to stay. We don't know if Van de Beek's going to stay. We don't know what centre back we're going to sign. We don't know if we're even in for a CDM. But that's the story that's coming out. But if you want my honest opinion, looking at what we know from the reliable journalists and all of that, I predict a transfer window of Jadon SANCHO and a centre back and possibly a cheap CDM. But I don't think it'll be Declan Rice unless Paul Pogba leaves. Now, I don't know what your transfer predictions are. Let me know down in the comments section down below. But if you have joined the stream late, I'll quickly update you on the Jadon SANCHO situation. Fabrizio Romano said on his Here We Go podcast, Man United are in fact in touch with people around Jadon SANCHO. The price is 90 million euros, which is 77 million pounds. But at the moment, United have not made a bid for Jadon SANCHO. He also said that now the Europa League final is over, Manchester United and Solskjaer will be on a meeting to decide among their transfer targets. And Fabrizio Romano said, keeping a close eye on Jadon SANCHO this summer. A deal to Manchester United could be likely as Sancho's price will be less than last summer. But he says at the moment, United have not made a bid and have not opened official talks with Dortmund. But we are in contact with people around Sancho. And he says to keep an eye on the deal about Sancho potentially heading to Manchester United, which I think the Sancho deal is the one we're going to have to keep on an eye out on throughout the whole summer. But as Berger PJ said, this is a deal like last summer, that the Sancho situation, it could be another. I don't think it will. It could be a repeat of last summer with Sancho. The deal I think is going to drag out through the whole transfer window. The only thing is because Sancho is so much cheaper this year than last year, I don't think Man United can afford to miss out on Sancho this year, especially with the pressure on the Glazers. The Glazers need Sancho just as much as we want Sancho, because the Glazers need a signing to try and win back some of the fans. As sad as that sounds, the Glazers need that signing to try and potentially win back some fans. Adidas. There's a story a couple of weeks ago saying Adidas are putting pressure on the Glazers because Man United's shirt sales have fallen down the last 2 summers. Do you know why our shirt sales have fallen down the last 2 summers? Because both our transfer winners have been crap. 2 summers ago, Lee Grant, Fred, and Delo. Last summer was absolutely crap. Donny van de Beek was our best signing last summer. He can't get on the pitch. I mean, luckily Cavani's paid off. But I think, the Glazers will make sure we get Manchester United for £77 million, because the fact that the Glazers are coming out apologising twice, the fact that the Glazers are going on the fan forum, the Glazers are losing money. The stocks are going down. There's so much pressure. There's so many bad reviews. Apparently sponsorship deals are pulling out of deals with Manchester United because of the Glazer ownership. And the only way the Glazers can win the fans back is if we have a good transfer window. the only sad thing is we could have a good transfer window this summer because the Glazers want to win the fans back, but then we have another 5 years of crap until there's pressure on again. Good transfer window. Ideally, the Glazers need to have a good transfer window every year and back the club and get deals done efficiently. But I think the Glazers will be desperate to have a good transfer window this summer. And that's why I think there's so much talk about us going in for Jadon SANCHO. Because if you look at that Manchester United squad, if I'm being brutally honest, I think we need a centre-back and a CDM more than we need Jadon SANCHO right now. I think we need a centre-back and a CDM more than we need Jadon SANCHO. And I'm a massive, massive fan of Jadon SANCHO. But the reason I think we are going for Jadon SANCHO over a centre-back and a CDM is partly to do with the Glazers and those in the board, because they know that if you sign Sancho, that almost gets them more money through shirt sales and puts less pressure on them. Because if you sign Sancho, it's going to get a lot more hype than if we sign Declan Rice. Now, for me, if I had a choice of Declan Rice and Sancho, believe it or not, I would choose Declan Rice because I think we need him more. But if you're looking at a Glazers perspective, Declan Rice or Sancho, what do you need more? Declan Rice. Oh, I'm the Glazers though. What's going to help me more? Sancho. Because if you get Sancho, the hype is so much more and stuff. But I do think with the Sancho situation, look, everything is done between United and Sancho. He's agreed to join us. He's agreed personal terms. But I think United being United, rather than getting Sancho done this week, because the season is over, we now focus on transfers. The season is over, we now focus on transfers. But instead of getting Sancho done this week, you know what United are like. They want this deal to drag on because £77 million for Sancho is a bargain. But Man United will want to wait a month to see if they can get for £70 million. And if Man United do that, they are playing a game, because Chelsea, you know, they might need a striker more than they need Sancho, but Chelsea are more than capable of just going, you're stalling on Sancho, let me come and get him. That's the situation with Chelsea. You know, it is probably between Man United and Chelsea for Sancho. The only chance Liverpool gets Sancho is if one of Salah or Mane leave. And at the end of the day, the only good positive thing about us, because, you know, if Man United and Chelsea are in the race for the same player, a lot of the time you back Chelsea to get them. But Sancho's our number one target. Chelsea, he's just the Chelsea target. Sancho's Man United's number one priority target. He's just the target of Chelsea. Sancho wants to come to Manchester United and return to Manchester and not Chelsea. Sancho will choose United over Chelsea. So the only reason I'm not too worried about Chelsea stealing Sancho is because he's our number one priority. And I think Sancho apparently would, even though Sancho's a Chelsea fan, Sancho would rather United over Chelsea. But it's one of those situations. And now the rumour is that Ollie's going to get a new 3-year deal, and Anto has to say the Glazers are full, giving a new 3-year deal to stay at Manchester United. If he cannot win a trophy, he doesn't deserve a 3-year contract. I'm frustrated with Ollie. He doesn't win a trophy. If there's no progression next season, if there's no chance of us winning a trophy next season, Ollie has to go. But I just think, you know, at the end of the day, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's got us top 4 2 seasons in a row, and that's the best we've ever done since Sir Alex Ferguson's left. And, you know, we don't want to turn into Arsenal where we're a top 4 club. We want to be a trophy-winning club. But to be fair, second place, you can't sack someone on second place. I don't think you can. I mean, with the expectation of Man United second place and no trophies, it's not a good season. And maybe if you're Chelsea manager, you sack them. If you're City manager, you sack them. But for me, I don't think you can sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer just because we lost. I don't think you can. And the news is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is in fact going to get a new contract. Man United are not getting Rice unless they offer 80 million to 100 million and swap deal. West Ham are interested in a deal with that. I think the only way Man United get Declan Rice, if I'm being 100% honest with you, is if Paul Pogba leaves. Because Fabrizio Romano said Sancho's number one transfer target. Sancho will cost us £77 million. He said Man United are keeping an eye on Varane and Jules Koundé and are desperate to bring a centre-back. That's £50 million. Sancho, one of our first choice centre-backs, is £125 million spent. Okay, you get 25 million for Lingard, that's 100 million spent. You get another 20 million for Dalot, Pereira, Jones out. Cool, that's 80 million net spend. Man United love to have a net spend of 60 to 80 million. The only chance we have of getting Declan Rice for me is if Pogba or maybe Van der Beek goes, but probably Pogba. Maybe Martial could raise funds for it. But I think if we get a CDM, I don't think it'll be Declan Rice unless we can strike a deal with West Ham. And look, West Ham have got Europe, they're not looking to sell Declan Rice. Unless we can offer them some good deal that involves Jesse Lingard, I don't think we will get Declan Rice, especially when the whole news is that's come from reliable journalists that it is CDM and centre-back right-wing and centre-back before Declan Rice. Give your live chat saying if you have any questions, put them in the live chat. And of course, hit that like button and subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. According to you, which player should Man United sign? I'd say Jules Koundé, Declan Rice and Jadon SANCHO. But if I was to be a little bit more realistic, I'd say Jules Koundé, Jadon SANCHO, and someone like Locatelli, because he'll be half the price of Rice. And then you sell players like Jesse Lingard, like Pereira, like Phil Jones, like Dalot, possibly want to buy or Lindelof to raise some funds personally. But that's who I would personally do and all of that. and stuff. But Glazer's out. Glazer's out. Everybody hit that like button for Glazer's out. Obviously want to get the Glazers out. Joel Glazer will be going on the Manchester United fan forum on June 4th, showing that there's really a lot of pressures on the There's a lot of pressure on the Glazers and stuff. There was a little bit of news about Woodward, which I will address later, about when will Woodward leave? Will he leave? Fucking better. But all of that. But yeah. What are your thoughts on Pau Torres, actually? Good question. Everyone in the live chat, let me know, what did you think about Pau Torres yesterday? He obviously, Pau Torres is the reason we didn't win the game 2-1, because he headed it off the line with the Cavani header. He looks like a good centre-back, Pau Torres, but he looks a little bit similar to Maguire. He didn't scream as someone quick, and I think for a centre-back, we need someone quick. But please let me know in the live chat, what did you think about Pau Torres, and who do you think we should sign? But yeah, let me know what you thought about Pau Torres yesterday. Is he a player you would sign? Personally, if I was going to sign a La Liga centre-back, it would be Jules Koundé followed by Varane, because I think Torres is a little bit similar to Maguire, but let me know what you think. But yeah, they will drag the Sancho deal out and mess it up. I think the Sancho deal will be dragged out this summer, because what Man United will do, because Man United, when they have a deal, they want as much attention and as much PR around the deal, so they get the most hype, the most clicks, the most views, the most money made. When Man United want to sign a player, it will be very, very classic Man United to be like, so say Man United want to sign Sancho, yeah? Say Man United want to sign Sancho, and we do want to sign Sancho. The reason I think we'll drag the Sancho deal on is because we get everyone on board with the Sancho hype, and then we sort of like slowly think, oh, it might not happen, and then boom, we sign him and we get the hype. And I think Man United, if they sign Sancho, will want to create as much hype and drama and actually prolong the Sancho deal so it gets much more hype and suspense around it. It gets much more hype and suspense around it and all of that. But you don't know. Pau Torres is not a good target. He's identical to Maguire. We need someone pacey like Koundé and Varane. Literally what I was saying. Pau Torres was good yesterday. He stopped us winning with his stupid block to stop Cavani making it 2-1. But fair play to Pau Torres. But yeah, I don't think Pau Torres is the centre-back we need. But of course, as I said, let me know what you think about Pau Torres at the back. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's centre-back we need. Only 46 likes needed for 100 likes. If everybody keeps hitting that like button, if your Glazer's out, hit that like button. You've got over 70 people watching, so I hope your Glazer's out. So smash that like button. Sar says, my order of signings is based on priority, CDM, centre-back, right wing, and then backup striker and backup right back. I completely agree with you there. Look, I think Sancho is Man United's priority signing. We know Sancho's Man United's first choice signing. But as I said earlier, Man United definitely need a CDM more than they need Sancho. Man United need a CDM more than they need Sancho. Man United maybe need a quick centre-back more than they need Sancho. But the thing is, with Man United, it's not our decision as the fans. They don't care what we need. They care about what makes the most money. Unfortunately, the sad truth about Man United, about the board, about the owners of Manchester United is they care more about what makes the money than what United need. And look, Sancho will definitely improve us. But I think Declan Rice would have more impact on Man United than Jadon Sancho. And you know why? Because our problem this season has not been scoring goals. Our problem this season has been being overrun in the midfield and defensively. I think realistically, I look at the United attack. I think that's a very, very good attack. I think it's been a bit burnt out towards the end of the season, but our attack is very, very good. I think a CDM and a centre-back could transform that team a lot more than Sancho could. And I love Sancho. Sancho was my dream signing last summer, and he's still a dream signing this summer. But I think the sad truth with United is Sancho gets us more money because of the hype, the shirt sales, the PR, the ratings, the sponsorships, all of that with Sancho. Then that's why Sancho's a priority signing, because obviously the Glazers and the whole Glazer situation. And it's such a shame. It's such a shame. And all of that. But talking about CDM, Scott McTominay was obviously one of the best players on the pitch yesterday. And I thought what was good about McTominay is because he got forward quite a lot in that second half. Because we did try and win the game in the second half, and then in extra time we were shit. And I do think Scott McTominay is a good player. And I've slated him a lot, but I think he's a very, very good player, Scott McTominay. I just think he's played out of position. And I do think, even if Pogba leaves, and people are going to think I'm fucking crazy for saying that. If Pogba leaves, we get a top CDM, not a like-for-like Pogba replacement. We get a top CDM because we can play Donny and we can play McTominay in that box-to-box role. And I think McTominay will become a good player as a box-to-box. And we know how good Donny was as box-to-box because man of the match versus Wolves. And I think if we sell Pogba, we don't go for a Jack Grealish or a very similar kind of player to Pogba. We actually go for a CDM. I genuinely think that, and that some of you guys might think I'm mad. Some of you guys probably are thinking, what is she talking about? But that's just my opinion and all of that. But yeah, let me read out a few more live chats. Anto says, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could not win a trophy next season, he deserves to go. Jose Mourinho, Van Gaal, and Moyes didn't even get time. I think if Ollie doesn't win a trophy next season, does he go? Does he go if you don't know? Because, Man United cannot be a club going 6 years without a trophy. That's Spurs shit. Before you know, it'll be Spurs. So I do agree that I think if he doesn't win a trophy next year, unless we're like 1 point off finishing first, I do think Ollie has to go if he doesn't win a trophy next season. I want to pace the centre back. Why can't Ollie use Tuanzebe? That's my thing. My issue with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this season is I think Ollie's too reluctant to change things. He's a bit stubborn with subs. As we saw in the Europa League final, stubborn with subs cost us. That's my big. I'm Ollie in, but my biggest problem with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is why hasn't Axel Tuanzebe or Van der Beek got more minutes than they've had? I think Axel Tuanzebe and Van der Beek are good enough to get more minutes this season, and that is my one issue with Ollie. Is I think that Axel Tuanzebe is probably better than Lindelof and will be better suited to Maguire. Yet we've barely seen him on, and it's weird because there'll be games we're 4-0 up and he's still on the bench, and I don't really get it. But yeah. I don't really get that with Ollie, I have to say. 44 likes to 100 likes, guys, so everybody keep hitting that like button. JB says Pau Torres did well last night. Cavani almost scored, but Torres was there to head it away. Torres really wants that Man United transfer. I thought he was good, but, I wouldn't personally want Torres. I thought he was really good yesterday, but I did think he was a little bit similar to Harry Maguire. Pau Torres looks like Lindelof, probably plays like him too. A lot of people compare Pau Torres and Lindelof because they look alike, but, I mean, did you see Lindelof last night? Look at Lindelof last night and look at Pau Torres last night. Pau Torres is an improvement on Lindelof. He just isn't that much of an improvement. Pau Torres is an improvement on Lindelof. Pau Torres was 10 times better than Lindelof last night. You couldn't push Pau Torres off the ball like they could push Lindelof off the ball. Pau Torres is an improvement on Lindelof, and I don't think you can say Pau Torres is the beat at Lindelof. But is Pau Torres that Ruben Diaz, Virgil van Dijk signing that's going to take us to that next level? Pau Torres is an improvement, but is he that signing that's going to take us to the next level? That's my thought on Pau Torres. I think he is a liability. Like this comment says, I think he's a good player. I think he's better than Lindelof, is improvement on Lindelof. But I also think Axel Tuanzebe is an improvement on Lindelof. But I don't think Maguire and Axel Tuanzebe would take us to the next level. Yeah, he might be an improvement on Lindelof, but I wouldn't say that Axel Tuanzebe would take us to the next level. Koundé ain't even 90 million. Koundé will be 50 million pounds, I believe. 60 million euros, 50 million pounds. And obviously, Varane apparently is our first choice centre back that we think we can get for 50 million. If we don't get Varane, according to Fabrizio Romano, it's Koundé that we're after. And Fabrizio Romano hinted that Man United would like, obviously, Jadon SANCHO for 77 million and a 50 million pound centre back in Varane or Koundé. But we've also got players like Pau Torres, Botman, Romero, and all that on our shortlist. But as I said earlier, the indication I'm getting from reliable journalists is let's go for Jadon SANCHO first, and then let's get a top centre back and see where we are. And I think if I was to predict Man United's transfer window right now, I'd say we'll probably sign Sancho, because I think if we don't sign Sancho and he goes to Chelsea, there'll be so much outcry that the Glazers just can't cope with it. I think we will sign Sancho because the Glazers need that Sancho deal to be done as well. But I also think we will get a centre back, and depending on who leaves and how much money is raised, we could be in for a CDM, but it could be a young up-and-coming CDM rather than a Declan Rice and a CDM get straight into the squad, if you want my honest opinion on that. Sancho this, Sancho that. I'll wait till he's holding up the shirt. Again, yeah, look, I have a feeling we're going to sign Sancho, but I had a feeling we were going to sign Sancho last summer. I don't want to say we're going to sign Sancho because last summer I basically was saying, oh, we're going to sign Sancho, guys. Like, we will get him. And we didn't get him. So I don't obviously want to sit there and be like, we are going to sign Sancho. Of course not, because you don't know with Man United. And I think with Man United, you have to wait until you get that here we go from Fabrizio Romano to actually have any confidence we're going to sign a player. You have to wait till we get that here we go from Fabrizio Romano. But I do think Jadon Sancho is more likely this summer in the sense that it is cheaper. But it's United. We could be linked to a player all summer and agree personal terms with them and still not sign them because we're being tight. That's the situation with Man United. We can be linked to a player all summer, but we won't sign them because we're being tight. Because we want to save £5 million. We're very much like we might be really close to getting Jadon Sancho tomorrow. All we know tomorrow, we could be this close to getting Jadon Sancho, but then we delay the deal 2 months just to see if we can get £5 million off. Because at the end of the day, the sad truth about Man United and Jadon Sancho is Jadon Sancho is all about Man United, all about saving money and all of that. JR says Pogba is too expensive for centre mid. We can get Neves for that job. Pogba and Martial need to go. Cavani and Haaland up top. Very, very ambitious comment there, Jay Archer. I'd love Pogba to stay. If you want my honest opinion, I would love Pogba to stay, have a midfield of someone like Declan Rice, Pogba and Bruno, then maybe a Haaland next year for when Cavani moves on, a top centre-back and Sancho. for all of that. But yeah, Koundé is around £60 million, I believe. I don't know if Koundé has a release clause because I think La Liga, they all have a release clause. I'm actually going to Koundé release clause. What is Koundé's release clause? Koundé has a release clause of €75 million, which is about £60 million. So, you know, he's somewhat affordable. I mean, Man City were willing to pay that kind of money for Ruben Diaz, and Ruben Diaz was a young centre-back like Koundé in the Portuguese league, and that paid off for Manchester City. So if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer really wants Jules Koundé, and if Jules Koundé really is Man United's first or second choice signing, then we should definitely go for him, because if we're confident that Jules Koundé is the one, get him. Because I think Pau Torres is 4th or 5th on our centre-back list, but watching Pau Torres, I think he would improve us, but he's not going to take us to the next level. He's an improvement on Lindelof Pau Torres. He's better than Lindelof Pau Torres, but he's not that centre-back that slots in well next to Maguire and takes us to that next level, whereas Koundé could be that Ruben Diaz or Virgil van Dijk like centre-back that takes us to the next level. And that's why I think it's really important. If Koundé is Man United's first choice centre-back, I think it's really important that the board do get Ole's first choice centre-back. Because if you don't get Ole's first choice, one chance they're likely to be on the bench. Because Man United's third and fourth choice centre-backs are players that are probably an improvement on Lindelof, but they don't take us to that next level. Like Tuanzebe, for me, is better than Lindelof, but I don't think Tuanzebe would win you the league with Maguire. I don't think he could. If Pogba's willing to sign an extension to contract, will you have to sell him? No, I don't know if Pogba's going to stay because we lost the final. I think now we've lost the final, will Pogba want to stay? Will Pogba want to stay now we lost the final? Unless we invest massively this summer. The only thing is, Juventus are worse than us right now, and Real Madrid are worse than us right now. But in the next 2 years, Real Madrid and Juventus will probably be better than us because they have more ambitious owners. But I'd say right now we are capable of beating Juventus, and I think right now we're capable of beating Real Madrid. Real Madrid third in the Liga, us second in the Premier League. Premier League better than La Liga. Therefore, by logic, we're better than Real Madrid because Chelsea is past them. Same with Juventus, fourth in Serie A. Like, I mean, AC Milan came second and they never really looked like beating us. So I think Man United right now is a better squad to Man United right now. And you might become deluded, but I think this Man United team right now is better than Juventus and Real Madrid's team. I generally do think this Man United team is better than Juventus and Real Madrid. But I think in 2 years' time, Juventus and Real Madrid will be better than us because they have more ambitious owners. Although they might get some fine and punishment for the Super League. But who knows? Manchester United already has a good squad, good players in every position, but are underperforming because of the manager is bad. Is it? Do you think a better manager could achieve more than Ole with this squad? Because I do think Fred and Lindelof in second place isn't a bad achievement from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and clearly Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does something at half time to make the squad go. But let me know in the live chat. Do you think with the current squad we have right now, a manager could do better than second place? Do you think that any manager could get us first place with the squad we have right now? Because maybe another manager wins us an FA Cup or gets us into the Champions League semi-final and we don't get knocked out into the Europa League. But I don't think with our squad right now that we are capable of winning the league with our squad, personally myself. But everyone is allowed their own opinion. Thank you very much for the super chat. Sancho and Rice could be better midfield options. They could be. I do agree. But thank you very much for the super chat. Maguire greater than Koundé. Personally, Maguire's very different to Koundé. Koundé's more mobile and pacey. I think Koundé is not a player that you can compare to Maguire. I think Koundé's a player that you partner with Maguire. But yeah. Jadon SANCHO, Varane, Koundé and Basuma would be a great summer. Yeah, either Jadon SANCHO, one of Varane and Koundé, and Basuma would be a good summer. And Basuma would only be £40 million on this. It's definitely doable. You just don't know with the Glazers if they would actually do something like that. But yeah, that's definitely doable. I am 100% sure whoever Manchester United signs, still Manchester United will struggle because the manager is not doing well. Also, some players are underperforming. No coincidence, says Anto Eriksson, which is a very, very interesting point. And Jay Arthur says, no way we are signing Rice. Now, talking of Rice, there's a lot of new people that have joined the stream. So if you haven't already hit that like button, please hit that like button. But there's a lot of news that came out about Declan Rice today and Manchester United with Declan Rice. And it came from a journalist called Jack Rossler that works for The Standard. And he said that Manchester United are keen to test West Ham's resolve over Declan Rice when the transfer window opens for a bid. Now, the story coming out today is that Manchester United are keen to test the Declan Rice situation and put in a bid for Declan Rice. They say sources within West Ham have not backed any question of Rice's sale this summer, and the club have had no contact from Old Trafford over a deal as of yet. Although Manchester United remain keen to try their luck to get Declan Rice and actually put in a bid for Declan Rice, could that bid potentially withhold Jesse Lingard? However, Declan Rice is not putting any pressure or desire to leave West Ham this summer, which is really, really interesting about us going for Declan Rice, because the interesting thing is, obviously, a few days ago, before we lost the Europa League, there was a lot of things that came out from journalists that get information from Man United itself that said we are potentially looking at holding midfielder to free up Pogba in that midfield, because we think Pogba will be better, more freed up in that midfield and all of that. However, English journalists, 4, 5, 6, 7 English journalists, linking us to Declan Rice the day after we use a final, knowing that Declan Rice will be £90 million, and we know that Sancho is a priority over Declan Rice, and we know Man United would not spend £80 million on Sancho and £90 million on Declan Rice in the same window, makes me fully convinced that it's a PR spin. I only think we will get Declan Rice if Pogba goes, or if we could raise money for someone like Martial. Maybe you have more money for Declan Rice. And I just think if we are going to get CDM, I have a feeling, unless Lingard knocks down the price of Declan Rice a fair bit, unless Martial or Pogba, we raise a lot of money in outs, I don't think the CDM we will sign will be Declan Rice. But again, the news is that a holding midfielder is thought to be Man United's priority this summer, along with a central defender and a fresh approach for Borussia Dortmund's Jadon SANCHO. And apparently Man United this summer want Jadon SANCHO, a holding midfielder, and a centre-back. And that's exactly what we need. We need Jadon SANCHO, a holding midfielder, and a centre-back for sure. We know that Sancho's the number 1 priority. We know centre-back's number 2. We know holding midfielder's number 3. But you just don't know who those players are going to be, because Man United never really get their first choice target. Now, I'm sure Ole Gunnar Solskjaer probably sat there and said, I want Sancho, Varane and Rice. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer probably said to them, get me Sancho, get me Varane, get me Rice. That's probably what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants. But with Man United, those who own Man United, the board at Man United, there's probably a chance that we might get Sancho, but then the centre-back, who are we going to get? Maybe Pau Torres, who's 3rd, 4th on the list. That's the centre-back. But the CDM, what CDM are we going to get? Maybe Ole as a CDM. I don't know. For all we know, we signed Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa, who's 6th on Ole's list. Because even though Ole might have, because Ole realistically, the story of what I'm trying to say is, I'm blabbing words, the story of Man United in the last 10 or so years in the transfer market is we never get our first choice in the position that we want, because we always go for the cheaper option. And the sad truth is, it's because those high up at the club don't care. That's the sad truth. They don't care. Ole out, De Gea out. If Dean Henderson was in goal, we would win the final, says Mkhitaryan. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think De Gea is the reason we got to the final. If Dean Henderson was in goal for the Roma, would Roma have scored 6? You know, I don't blame the loss on De Gea. I personally don't blame the loss on De Gea, because at the end of the day, 1, De Gea got us to the final. 2, De Gea is a brilliant club servant, and we all wanted De Gea to play in goal over Henderson. Yes, De Gea didn't save any of his penalties. He was close to getting a hand on 1, but they were all very, very good penalties from Villarreal. You have to give it to Villarreal. 2, David De Gea was never expecting to take a penalty, so why would he be practicing? Realistically, that never happens that a goalie has to take a penalty. Just because De Gea missed the penalty doesn't mean it's De Gea's fault. At the end of the day, if there's anyone to blame for the loss, it is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer played for penalties. We didn't win the game in 90 minutes, and we looked really good in the second half, and we almost made it 2-1 by 90 minutes. But the second we went to extra time, instead of trying to win the game in extra time, we played for penalties because we put Fred on, we went defensive. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, in extra time, did his first sub, which involved Greenwood, an attacking player, coming on, and Fred, a defensive player, coming on, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted to play for penalties, because he didn't want to risk winning to lose in extra time. He didn't want to risk winning in extra time in case we lost, so he played for penalty in extra time. And it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's fault for playing for penalties, not David De Gea, in my personal opinion. You know, I personally wouldn't blame De Gea, but everyone has their own choice. No manager can get better than second, but if Pep managed his team last night, we would have won the final. Facts. To be fair, I agree with that comment, sir. I would agree with that comment. Jose Mourinho won the Europa League and Community Shield in just one season. That's a bad season for Manchester United, in my opinion. This season is much worse. I mean, yeah, Jose, I think our best season post Sir Alex is that season with Jose Mourinho. I mean, our best points we've ever got since Sir Alex was 81 points with Mourinho. And the most trophies ever won was those 2 that we won in the season with Jose Mourinho. So, to be fair, you make a fair point. But, yeah. We need to upgrade Phil Jones' wages. He's our best player. Oh, yeah. Phil Jones played in the final, guys. I generally think we would have won. Phil Jones played in the final. I think we would have won. Do you think if fans were allowed in the stadium, would Ole be sacked? Probably not. Probably not. I think next season with fans will improve our home record, because if you actually look at our season, we've been so much worse at home, and I think once fans are back at home, I think that will improve our home record next season. But Rice, 90 million, greater than 30 million, Sakara and Locatelli. Well, I think 30 million for Sakara and Locatelli is better value for money, but I think Rice is a player that would have more impact on Manchester United. And at the end of the day, if I was to sign 3 players, I mean, I'd go for Ndidi over Rice, but if I'm being realistic, if I was going to sign 3 players, it'd be Rice, Koundé, and Sancho, just because I don't think with Leicester you want to make a deal with them. But if signing Locatelli and Sakara meant we got a CDM, a centre back and a right wing, then I would sign them, and they're good players. Ollie has to trust the bench. Johnny was his signing, still not confident to bring him up in the big matches, giving bench players game time, nor does he have the confidence. Yeah, Ollie next season, next season could be Ollie's final season at Manchester United. 1, if he doesn't get backed, and 2, if he wins the trophy. But Ollie next season has to trust players. Donny van de Beek was man of the match versus Wolves yesterday, and he didn't even get like a minute on the pitch. Like, he barely played, Donny van de Beek, and he was man of the match yesterday versus Wolves. Like, not man of the match yesterday, man of the match like 4 days ago versus Wolves, and he doesn't get a minute. Donny van de Beek doesn't get a minute in a game that we need a player to come on and win the game. We're 1-0 against Villarreal in the second half, and we're playing very, very well in the second half versus Villarreal. And we look like we're going to make it 2-1. Rashford missed the sitter. Cavani got it denied on the line by Pau Torres. If I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I would have took Rashford off 70 minutes in and put Donny van de Beek on, because it's fresher legs, it changes it up and go for the win. But every time Man United are drawing a game this season, a big game, I'm talking Arsenal, we were drawing 0-0, didn't make any changes until very, very late. Chelsea drawing 0-0, pretty much no changes made. The first time we drew 0-0 was City, pretty much no changes made. Liverpool 0-0 at the start of the season, no changes made. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer played to win rather than playing not to lose and made those subs. The subs could have ended differently. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's downfall as a manager is not trusting players like Tuanzebe and Donny to play more when they're clearly good enough. They've proved they're good enough. But it's also not making subs because he doesn't want to risk losing. He'll just play not to lose, so he'll just keep it the same. And I think that is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's downfall as a manager. Daniela says, look, unless Rice puts in a transfer request, you're going to have to offer West Ham 90 to 100 million. And Moy says he's not going to pay more than 23 million for Lingard. Remember, you're dealing with the Scott, who is how tight. Yeah, that's the thing. West Ham aren't a good club to deal with. It's a bit like Daniel Levy. You make a very, very solid point there. DA had all notes of where to go and all safe pens, and he didn't, when he was taking the pens, he didn't care. He was smiling. All the penalties were good penalties, to be fair. Like, I think there was only one I thought De Gea could save, to be fair. I have to give it to Villarreal. They're just as good at penalties as us. They're just as good as penalties as us. I can't talk properly at the moment, to be fair to them. This comment says, I think Pau Torres won't come to Man United this season. That Villarreal got Champions League football now. Also, Barca will try and sign him next season. He could prefer Spain over England. Exactly. And look, I thought Pau Torres was good yesterday. I thought he was better than Lindelof. But I do think Varane and Koundé are the centre-backs we need, not Pau Torres. John Jones says Man United should sign Gabriel from Arsenal for 85 million at Arsenal because he's levels above Maguire. I mean, if John Jones, if Gabriel's level above Maguire, how come Arsenal just about finished 8th? They could have finished lower. But yeah, who knows? But how has Gabriel really been at Arsenal? Because he started off well, but I feel like Gabriel hasn't been that good as of late. Ole wanted to take the game into extra time, which was negative mentality. He wanted to exhaust Villarreal players, probably since they all finished their subs. The thing about Villarreal is they were better in extra time because Unai Emery made those subs. We were really good in the second half. And, when I look at that second half, we had 2 or 3 opportunities to make it 3-1 and win the game. And I thought we were going to win the game considering how good we went out in the second half, how lost they were. But all of a sudden, Villarreal was so much better than us in extra time. Like they were. They were. And I think that's because Unai Emery made them subs. And I think that's why Villarreal was so much better than us next time. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below for daily Manchester United content. I'm going to be doing 5 streams a week during the transfer window. 5 streams around 8 p.m. a week during the transfer window. So make sure to subscribe to Alice Talks Football so you're updated on all the sort of latest transfer news surrounding Manchester United. And of course, hit that like button. Let's see if we can hit 100 likes. And JB says, I haven't seen much of Jules Koundé, but I saw him against Barcelona in one of the cup games. Yeah, I mean, look, Sevilla have had good games, they've had bad games, but I think what I like about Jules Koundé is his mobility, and I'm more looking at Jules Koundé not as an individual, but as a partner for Maguire And I think Jules Kounde would be a good partner for Maguire. Get any questions you have in the live chat. I'm going to be reading out some of my live chat, guys, answering questions. If you have any questions about transfers, my thoughts on things, Man United, all of that, put in the live chat. I'm just going to sip of water, and then I'm going to read out some of my live chats. Man United could have stopped Henderson on the 120th minute. Yeah, I think De Gea is a keeper that hasn't saved a penalty in a long time. But I think it would be very, very disrespectful for De Gea. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has more respect than that for De Gea, because I think if you sub your experienced keeper off and put a new unexperienced keeper on for penalties, I feel like that's quite disrespectful for De Gea. And who knows if Henderson would have done a better job as well. But you have to say, to be fair, like you don't sub your most experienced keeper off for a penalty shootout. I think it's very, very disrespectful. But maybe Henderson in goal would have won us the game. Maybe Henderson would have made a difference. But again, I wouldn't blame De Gea, because I think you have to put the blame on Ollie for actually playing for extra time. Goes back to Fred in extra time, plays defensive, parks the bus in extra time, plays for penalties. So I think at the end of the day, we lost the penalty shootout, but you blame Ollie for taking it. Alice, would you take Varane as centre back? I would take Varane as centre back. I would, but I think Kounde would be my first choice. But yeah. Arsenal may have finished above 8, but conceded less goals than Man United in the Premier League this season. Did Arsenal concede less goals than us? It's probably because you play more negative football. But Man United just conceded so many stupid set-piece goals. Only 16 likes away from 100 likes, guys. So if everybody watching could hit that like button, it would be much appreciated. Would you be happy if we only got Rice and Sancho this summer? To be fair, because it's Man United, yes. Like, if I had faith that Man United were going to have a good window, no. I do think we need a centre-back as well. But if we got Declan Rice and Jadon SANCHO, I would be happy with the summer. I'd say we still need a centre-back. So, but I think because of my expectations of Man United and transfer winners are so low, I would be happy with that. David Hales says, Ollie waits for one moment of magic. He tells players to be brave, and he's totally inept with game management. Needs to get rid of the coaching stuff and get some proper coaching stuff. I do think we need a defensive coach and a set-piece coach. And I do think next season, Ollie needs to be quicker with his subs, and if we're drawing, actually risk winning. Because I think Ollie plays not to lose. He doesn't want to risk losing to win. I think that's what Ollie's got to do next season. Ollie will be sacked by Christmas, says Gaz Elliott. If he doesn't get backed, I think he will be. If he doesn't get backed, I think he will be, because I think he's overachieved with this side this summer. I think he's overachieved with this side. So I think if Ollie doesn't get backed, it could be. It was a poor game yesterday. Both sides were not impressive. Villarreal, talking about Villarreal, only had one shot in 120 minutes of football. Only one shot in 120 minutes of football. It was the fucking goal. They're part of the bus and they did fuck all when they looked for set pieces, Villarreal weren't even that good yesterday, but fair play to them. They're the underdogs. They won it in the end. Guess it's tactical. So, yeah. Not a question, but a little message. We'll do our best to win Saturday. Cheer you guys up. Yeah, I mean, I fucking hope Chelsea win, because I'm getting bantered by Man City fans a lot today. There's not many Man City fans, but they are coming here to banter me. But yeah, I do agree that I really hope Chelsea win, because it's just not at the end of it. If we bottle our final and Man City win their final, you just know. Have you heard about the academy looking at signing a 16-year-old midfielder, Yuri Nator from Benfica? I have not, but I'm going to Google that player right now. Yuri Nator. I have to say, one thing Man United have done well is scouting for the academy. Hannibal Mejrab, we scout for the academy. Joe Hugill, we scout for the academy. I have to say one thing Man United has done well is scouting for the academy. We've got Charlie McNeil in the last year. He's been absolutely brilliant. I think he broke Greenwood's record. We've got Joe Hugill that's been fantastic, who came from Sunderland, and only Hannibal Mejbri, who looks like a great player. So one thing I'll give Man United credit for is whoever's scouting for the academy, you're doing a good job, because our academy looks brilliant. Shola Satiri, I mean, all the young players we have look absolutely fantastic. And I do say, and use a few big core players like a Declan Rice and a few big core players, but I do think we have some very, very talented players in the academy. And if they can get the game to come, and if they can come through, they will have a big, big potential. But I do agree there's a lot of very, very interesting players in the academy. This guy says he thinks Mourinho is better than Ollie. If Mourinho can win the Europa with below average team, why is Ollie not doing it? Ollie should have won yesterday, and look, it is partly Ollie's fault. His subs lacked. So Mourinho is a better manager than Ollie. But having said that, Mourinho deserved to be sacked. Thank you very much, Dean, for the super chat. Rice ain't leaving a team that got Europe. Something tells me that teams finishing the top 8, beating Arsenal, Liverpool, are going to have a hard team next season. I think it will be harder for West Ham next season, especially with more game time being in the Europa League. But I do agree that I don't think Declan Rice will leave this season because he's not putting pressure on. And I think unless Declan Rice wanted to leave, and it doesn't look like he really wants to leave, he won't leave because £90 million. If Man United's priority is Jadon SANCHO for £77 million, we know we're not going to get Rice for £90 million. Chelsea want Rice, but I think £90 million, if Rice isn't putting any pressure to leave, I do think Declan Rice will stay for another year, but I do think next summer Declan Rice will leave. Kind of the same with kind of the same situation with Harry Kane. I don't think Harry Kane will leave Spurs because of just how much money they are. But thank you very much for the super chat. But I do agree with you. I think this Declan Rice to Manchester United news is just a little bit of a PR spin. Andrew says a team which is 7th in La Liga beat us, and we saw the same shambolic midfield in Pogba, who didn't turn up. Moran Fellaini was better than Fred, who brought Lindelof, robbed us. The goal Lindelof conceded was fucking stupid, but Paul Pogba and Bruno didn't show up. Rashford didn't show up yesterday, and it's very, very disappointing. Mark S says Villarreal part of the bus. Our forwards literally couldn't do anything. I understand the Fred sub, to be honest. I think the Fred sub was for legs, but the thing that annoyed me about the Fred sub was, if you need a player for legs, I would have put Donny van de Beek on for Rashford because I thought Rashford was worse than Greenwood. And personally, I would have taken Rashford off and not Greenwood because Rashford's clearly not match fit. He's clearly carrying an injury. And I thought Greenwood looked quite threatening, putting 2 good crosses. So I think the thing that annoyed me about the sub was it was Greenwood that came off as well for Fred. I thought that's a very negative sub. I know it's moving Pogba to the left, but then you're putting Rashford on the right. And we know what Rashford's like on the right. Personally, I think Fred coming on for legs, I get it. McTominay was having a good game, so you don't take McTominay off. But I just think, I don't think Greenwood should have come off that game, to be fair. I really don't. I'm going to try and read out a few more chats. So just get any comments you have down below in the live chat. I'm going to try and read out a few more chats before I end the stream. John Jones says, there is no player called that, Alice. You're getting baited by someone who's trying to make you say urinator. Oh, wow. Fair enough. I didn't even know that. I did not even know that, to be fair. I got completely baited then. We need Varane, Jules Koundé, high time, give Lindelof competition so there's much more comfortable. I think Tuanzebe should play over Lindelof. Lindelof's too weak, gets pushed off the ball. Without Maguire, Lindelof's been exposed because Maguire's physicality can make up for Lindelof's weakness. But without Maguire, Lindelof's been exposed. And I think if I look at the end of the season, Axel Tuanzebe is quicker than Lindelof. We need pace at the back. Axel Tuanzebe is younger than Lindelof and he's looked better than Lindelof. So personally, myself, I'd be playing Axel Tuanzebe over Victor Lindelof. But I think we need a new centre-back. Look, the sad thing is I think Axel Tuanzebe is a very good player, and I'm a big fan of Tuanzebe, and I don't think he's had enough minutes. But we need a top centre-back to go next to Maguire. But the only thing is Lindelof will still be third in line. But I think Bailly or Tuanzebe should be third in line. Personally, I don't hate Lindelof. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good squad player, but I don't think he's good enough for Man United if he wants to go up to another level. Lindelof can get you top 4, but Lindelof isn't going to win you titles. And I want Man United to win titles because that's where we should be. JB says Man United need to do better at defending set pieces. We need a way to penetrate low block teams effectively. Yeah, 2 brilliant points. Man United need to be better at breaking down teams, but set pieces. As I said yesterday in my watch along, set pieces. Every time we had a set piece, every time Villarreal had a set piece, I almost shat myself. Every time Villarreal had a set piece because we are not good with set pieces, and that's one thing Man United need to improve massively on next season. Is set pieces because we're not good enough at set pieces. We're not good enough at the back there in terms of set pieces. That's something we massively need to improve on. I do agree. Daniela says Declan Rice is happy at West Ham. There's a band of bother feeling at West Ham. Yeah, next season could go pear-shaped. Then you get Rice for less, but not. We could do with Leicester. He stays. Sorry, I completely misread that, but I do get what you're saying. I think Declan Rice will stay at West Ham, and I think Harry Kane, even if he's not happy at Spurs, will stay at Spurs another season just because of how much they're going to cost in a COVID market. But yeah. Exactly. Now, the latest news for all you guys that is joining is obviously there's a PR spin saying we're going to sign Kane and Rice and all that coming out today. There is a bit of news about Man United generally having an interest in a CDM, which I think is legit news. It is positive news because why wouldn't we have an interest in a CDM? We clearly need it. But their latest is on Manchester United. As Fabrizio Romano said in his Here We Go podcast, now the Europa League is over, we will be focusing on transfers, and Jadon SANCHO is the player we need to keep an eye out on this window. But we're also very, very interested in a centre-back like Rafael or Jules Koundé, and a lot of other journalists are saying we would like a CDM as well. And Declan Rice is that CDM that is getting linked to us today, but I do think a lot of the Declan Rice links is to try and distract us from the fact that we lost yesterday. I think, we aren't going to get Declan Rice in the summer. I do say, look, I have a feeling we're going to get Sancho. I think there's a good chance we could get Koundé. I think there's a good chance we could get Varane. I think there's a good chance we could get Pau Torres. I think we'll get Sancho in a centre-back in the summer, but I could be wrong. I'm not a psychic. I did predict we were going to get Donny van de Beek. A year ago, when we were first linked to Donny van de Beek, I said we're linked to Donny van de Beek and we're linked to Grealish. And I said a year ago, actually, we'll get Donny van de Beek because he's cheaper and younger. And we did. But I also said we get Sancho last summer, and I was wrong with that. So I'm not a psychic, but I do have to say you just don't really know with the Declan Rice comments. Ollie loses a cup final, then they give him a new contract. Yeah, Ollie's going to get a new 3-year contract. That is the thing. Just get the Glazers out. Yeah, at the end of the day, guys, this is a really, really good point. At the end of the day, this is a very, very good point. Man United have lost a cup final, and I think a lot of our attention has been negative to the players and Ollie. But let's not let us distract. Let's not go on with Ollie out. Look, I agree Ollie was the reason we lost the final, but let's not go Ollie out. Let's go Glazers out, because the real problem at Manchester United is not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it's not the players, it's the Glazers. And the only way we're going to become the team we want to be and the team we used to be is if we get the Glazers out of the club. So yeah. Last night, McTominay, Cavani, Wan-Bissaka only play well. Rashford is useless, but I love him. Rashford was good at the start of this season, but Rashford is burnt out. I thought Greenwood was all right, but McTominay was man of the match yesterday. And Rashford was very, very poor yesterday. I do feel a bit bad for Rashford because look, I know Rashford loves to come, and I know Rashford plays his heart out, and I know Rashford's playing with an injury, and maybe you have to blame Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for overplaying Rashford. And I do feel bad for Rashford because he got a lot of abuse yesterday, and I'm sure he's playing his best, but he wasn't good yesterday, Marcus Rashford. He was not good yesterday. I'm getting a few trolls in the chat. Okay, we lost yesterday. We know it. But you know what? If you're an Arsenal fan trying to banter me, just remember you're not in Europe. Just remember you're not in Europe. So stop trying to banter me, Arsenal fans. Exactly. I'm getting a lot of Arsenal fans. Jordy says, if you need a CDM, we'll give you 2. Pape Mende and Hamza Chowder. Yeah, you know what? I think we'll stick with McFred. Thank you very much. I think we'll stick with McFred. Never thought I'd be saying that. I think we'll get Sancho in a centre-back and that's it. You know what? I think we're going to get Sancho a centre-back and that's it. Because the thing about Man United and transfer windows is we always go, okay, these are the 3 positions we want, and we think about filling 2 of them. We never fill the 3rd. I don't think we've ever had a transfer window where we felt that we've actually fulfilled all the positions we want to fulfill. And I think it's very easy to sit here and say we need a centre-back, we need a CDM, and we need a right winger. But at the end of the day, all the reliable journalists, Fitz Romano is saying it is Sancho that's number 1 priority, it's a centre-back that's number 2 priority, and a CDM that's number 3 priority. And realistically, we're not going to get all 3 signers that we want. So I think it could be a winner with a centre-back, and a right winger, and we do miss out on a CDM. It wouldn't surprise me if we didn't get a CDM this summer. Obviously, we're getting linked to a CDM, and a CDM is now a priority position. But I wouldn't surprise me if we didn't get a CDM, because at the end of the day, Sancho was a priority last time we didn't get him. The CDM's priority this summer. It doesn't always mean that we're going to get him. Ollie deserves a contract regardless of Europa League debacle. His in-game management is appalling. His in-game management, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, massively needs to improve. It massively needs to improve. The Glazers are the problem. Man United Glazers out. Everybody hit that like button for Glazers out. Keep hitting that like button for Glazers out. At the end of the day, we lost. Yeah, Ollie's probably the reason we lost yesterday with his poor tactics and lack of subs. But let's not distract us from the fact that it clearly is Glazers out, Glazers out. Get them Glazers out. You know, green and gold to the club is sold. Exactly. Liverpool FC board has created a new fan board, a recommendation which opinion analysis. I mean, it's good to do things like that, but I just don't think it really makes a difference. I think it's just for the PR and the look, if you want my honest opinion. Maybe Ollie not using subs a lot is to send a message that he needs new players, he doesn't trust his subs. Yeah, you're possibly correct with that, Nick Morris. I do agree. Maybe it is Ollie sending a message. I'm going to try and read out a few more live chats, but I am sorry if I do miss a few live chats. I've got a lot, and I can't read them all, and my voice will go if I keep talking for too much longer. But I thought Cavani was the only one that wanted it. I think Bruno wanted it, but he didn't show up. I think that the players did want it, but I think a lot of them shows up. Man should give Ollie a new 6-year deal. Yellow, yellow, yellow. We've got a troll in the chat. He says Ozil at the end of his name. So you know what? Arsenal fans, you can't banter us because you're not in Europe. At least we got to the final. But you can probably banter a little bit because it was embarrassing yesterday. This guy says, if Pogba leaves Man United and any other midfielder gets signed, then whom should be paired with Fred and McTominay? Good question. Good question. If Pogba leaves Man United and any other midfielder gets signed, if it's a CDM, I prefer Fred to McTominay in a defensive role. I prefer my ideal pivot is Fred and Pogba, or Matic and Pogba. But I'd say if you get a CDM, it would be CDM, McTominay and Bruno, because McTominay does more going forward than Fred, but Fred does more defensively than McTominay, if you want my honest opinion there. What did you think about the referee yesterday? Potential handball by Villarreal. McTominay was down. The game wasn't stopped. Gave Ollie players who walk into 11 and not his third choice players. Give Ollie players who walk into 11 not. Yeah, exactly. The referee yesterday was a knobhead. There was a clear foul on Cavani. There was a clear Villarreal handball. There was contact where we potentially could have got a penalty, but it would have been soft. But I do think that Villarreal had a 12th man yesterday to help them out with the ref. I do think Villarreal were lucky. We weren't good, and you know what, we didn't play well enough to win. But I do think Villarreal were lucky in the sense that the referee was definitely a little bit biased to Villarreal. I think the referee made a lot of calls in Villarreal's favour. I do think Villarreal were lucky in that sense. I also look at it and go, there's a lot of decisions that didn't go away. But Villarreal had one shot on target in 120 minutes, and that was the goal. After Villarreal scored, they had a few shots over the bar, but they never came close to scoring. They parked the bus, they didn't do anything. Villarreal scored from a set piece and then didn't have a single shot on target for the rest of the game. They scored one goal, and that was it. If we'd just scored 2 goals in 90 minutes, it wouldn't have mattered. They never really looked like scoring. Even in extra time when Villarreal had a lot more possession, was on top of us because we sat back and applied pressure. They never really, really looked like scoring. One shot on target, 120 minutes. I do think Villarreal are lucky in the sense that, penalties is also luck as well. But, I do think the referee did help them out a bit. I do think the referee yesterday was an absolute joke, the ref yesterday. I thought the ref was an absolute joke. I thought he was, I don't think the ref yesterday was good enough. Is it me or does anyone else think Zidane is not the manager to replace Ollie if Ollie was to be replaced? Yeah, I don't know what I feel about Zidane. If I was going to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it'd be like Hansi Flick or the Ajax manager, to be fair. I would want someone with attacking football, Nagelsmann as well, but obviously he's gone to Bayern and all of that. And all of that. I'm getting someone's just made an account called Alice Talks Football Exposed. Lovely, lovely. I don't know what you're going to expose me for, but go for it. Go for it. Sell Fred and McTominay. Sell Fred, keep McTominay's back up, get a CDM and pair with Van der Beek. Personal. Yeah, I get what you mean. I think we need I thought Donny and Matic against Wolves. I thought Donny and Matic against Wolves was a very good pair in the pivot. I thought Donny and Matic worked really well together in the pivot. I do think Donny and Matic is a good pairing. And I do think Donny and Matic look better than McFred. I think, McFred isn't a favourite. And I do think a top CDM and Donny would be very, very good for Manchester United. I think a top CDM and Donny would work. I think a top CDM and Donny Van de Beek would be very good for Manchester United. And I think if we saw Donny Van de Beek in a box-to-box role for Manchester United versus Wolves, man of the match for me. And I do think if Pogba leaves, Donny isn't the level of Pogba, but I do think if Pogba leaves, you get a CDM because I think McTominay, believe it or not, I've slated McTominay this season. I think McTominay is more than capable of playing in that box-to-box role and being like a Solskjaer because when he gets forward, he looks quite good. He was very good yesterday, McTominay. And we know that Donny Van de Beek's a box-to-box player. And I do think if Pogba goes, you get a CDM because you can do CDM, either Donny or McTominay and in the box-to-box role, and then Bruno as a cam. I do think that. But, United will win the Carabao Cup next season, says a City fan. Of course, it's City fan that says City will win the Carabao Cup next season because, they're City. I mean, the thing is, like, if I want to win a trophy, first it's the Premier League because we haven't won it so long. Then it's the Champions League. Then it's Europa League. Then it's the FA Cup. Then it's the Carabao Cup. I generally don't care about the Carabao Cup, but I'm at the sense that we haven't won a trophy in 5 years that I actually would want to win the Carabao Cup because it is a trophy. Like, I don't care about it because it's like, I feel like it's winning the Community Shield. Like, no one really gives a shit about the Carabao Cup. But I'm at the point that if we won the Carabao Cup, I would be so gassed. Generally, because we haven't won a trophy in that long, that the Carabao Cup would actually mean, like, something. Like, it's a trophy, but what I'm trying to say is, like, the Carabao Cup. And Man United got robbed there. He paid the ref. The ref was on their side, but I wouldn't say we got robbed because we didn't play well enough to maybe win the game. But they definitely had a 12th man in the referee. Get a few more chats in the live chat. I'll read out a few more chats before I end the stream. Just going to quick sip of water, then I'll read out a few more live chats. And of course, hit that like button if you haven't already. We're getting someone spam. Alice. Someone's making Alice the fraud. Great. Great. We're getting a little bit of spam in the chat. Whoever stays, whoever comes, whoever goes, without a world-class manager, even FC Barcelona or Real Madrid can't win trophies. United as well. Do you think it is the end of the road for Ollie because his man management and finals was poor? I'm not going to be Ollie out personally, as I said. Second place, top 4, 2 seasons in a row, first time since Alex Ferguson. But I don't know if Ollie's the man to win us a Champions League or a Premier League. But at the end of the day, it's Glazers before. It's Glazers out before Ollie out for me. Glazers out before Ollie out. And as this guy said, Glazers out first. I think Glazers out before Ollie out. If you're new, please subscribe down below for Alice Talks Football. I'm going to be doing pretty much daily Manchester United content throughout the transfer window. Obviously, the season's over. We're focusing on transfers. So there'll probably be about 5 live streams a week throughout the transfer window and a few short videos during the day every now and then if there's some breaking news or just like a tactical video or something different. So subscribe if that sounds like your thing because it will mean a lot. And of course, hit that like button, subscribe down below. And all of that. I hope Ollie will learn from his mistakes. I repeat, Ollie has a good relationship with the players, and that's a good advantage. Yeah, I agree. I think Ollie has a brilliant relationship with the players. I think the players play for Ollie, and I think the players respect Ollie. But I think Ollie needs to learn 100%. He needs to make his subs quicker. He needs to improve his man management. And I just hope next season, the one thing I hope about next season is, because I believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be managing next season, is that we're just not pointing out the same mistakes. If next season we're going, Wan-Bissaka tucking in, who's marking the man in the back post? Why is Lindelof going up for a header and Maguire staying back as a sweeper defender? Why have we conceded from zonal marking? Why are Fred and McTominay getting overrun in the midfield? Why are we playing Lindelof, Maguire, Fred and McTominay big games? Why is Ollie making subs? Why is Ollie making defensive subs? Why are we drawing that game? If we're asking all of those questions come next season, then Ollie would have to go. And I just hope those little things Ollie improves on next season. I can't see Van der Beek staying at United for another season. Ollie ruined it. There's only one season. I think Van der Beek can recover. I thought Fred's first season at United was poor, but he definitely improved. Not saying that Fred's a great player, but I think Fred in the last 2 years has been pretty good for us. That's my unpopular opinion. I just think Fred and McTominay come as a pairing, and that lets us down. But I think Fred as an individual player is actually grown. And I think if Donny van der Beek gets the game time, he will become a good player for Man United. It's just will Ollie give him the game time? And I believe maybe next season Donny van der Beek will get the game time, because you see how good he was against Wolves, Donny and Matic and Pivot, brilliant against Wolves. And I think Donny van der Beek will stay another season, and I think he will go if he doesn't get the game time next season. But I think look, Donny and Matic look so good in the Pivot, in my opinion. Donny and Matic look so good in the Pivot, but you don't know. Anto says, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not experienced, so I can understand. He is the same as Arteta and Lampard, who has pressure big jobs. Ole's lack of experience, yeah, Ole does have a lack of experience. But he's very much more experienced than Lampard and Arteta, because Ole won the Swedish league, didn't he? He was at Molde. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has a lot more experience than Lampard and Arteta, and that's why I think Ole is still in this job, and Lampard isn't, and Arteta's not getting anywhere near Europe. I think the reason I think Ole does have experience over Arteta and Lampard. Maybe Arteta will be a better manager than Ole in 10 years' time, but I think Ole isn't that inexperienced, to be fair. I think Ole isn't that experienced, but yeah. First time been to your channel today, really liked the content, liked and subscribed, giving us much good content. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the comment, it means a lot. Only 72 likes, needed for 200 likes, so if you hit that like button, it will mean a lot. It will mean a lot. But thank you everyone for hitting that like button. Please subscribe down below if you're new. Let me know in the live chat, your thoughts and all of that. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat and all of that. For me, with United in the game yesterday, it does still hurt. It does still hurt. But again, 11, you score 10 penalties, you expect to win a penalty shootout. You score 10 penalties, you expect to win a penalty shootout. But look, it is what it is. It is what it is. Ole being blamed for no subs justified, but no matter what, we could see how much the players believe in him and also progress. Very, very good comment here. Very, very good comment here. The players do play for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. There was a time where we just knew the players weren't playing for Jose Mourinho, and I have to say the one thing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has is the dressing room on his side. I think they do. But yeah, for sure. Someone asked if I'm Ole in or Ole out. Look, I'm Ole in, but if next season he's making the same mistakes with subs, with zonal marking, with Wan-Bissaka tucking in, and we're not winning a trophy next season, then I will be Ole out. But I'm going to give him one more season at Young United because he's come second he's become second in the Premier League with McTominay, Fred, Lindelof, and Maguire as sort of a 4. So that's why I'm Ole in. That is why I'm Ole in. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's tuning into the stream. Thank you for your support. It all means a lot. Keep hitting that like button. Keep subscribing down below and all of that. Thank you very much for your support. It means a lot. I've got there's some beef going on in the chat. If you got any questions, feel free to hit that like button. Thanks for all the mods as well. We've got a little bit of beef in the chat. But yeah, Van der Beek reminds me of the young Modric at Spurs, was attacking mid, then became world-class CM. I think Donny Van der Beek can become a world-class CM. I think with Bruno, he's not really going to get much chances as an attacking midfielder. And I think Donny Van der Beek's best games for Manchester United has been where he's played as a CM. You know, Dotic. Is that it? Dotic. Donny and Matic. Dotic or... Yeah, Donny or Money. No, yeah, probably that. Donny and Matic work very well together. And I think Donny Van der Beek can become a very, very good centre mid. I think he can. JB says, Ollie needs to improve and work on his tactics, game management and strategy if he wants to get better and take Man United to a higher level. I definitely agree with that comment, Jay. I definitely agree with that comment, 100%. And all of that. People saying Zidane might be free, but Ollie's going to stay for another year. The rumour is Ollie's going to be offered a new 3-year deal. Look, he came third, he came second, so next season, first? Well, only if we get backed. Only if we get backed. But I still think that's ambitious. But Ollie will probably stay, and I don't think we need to really think about new managers. I think come Christmas time, if Ollie doesn't have a good season come Christmas time, or we're not looking good by Christmas time, he will be sacked. But I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be getting sacked till at least Christmas, November time at the earliest, if you want my honest opinion. I think he will stay for the summer. He will stay for the start of next season. I think he'll only get sacked if he doesn't get backed, because obviously the players do play for Ollie. But I don't think we can really talk about Ollie replacements, because at the end of the day, there's a few rumours out there saying Ollie could get sacked. But at the end of the day, look, I don't think Ollie will be sacked. Buy Rice. Well, I would buy Rice, yeah. Thank you, everybody. Please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe down below if you're not already subscribed and all of that. This comment says, with already 3 goalkeepers in the squad and now Heaton news, De Gea with his salary is a really big burden on the club. Do you think it'll be time for Henderson to be number 1? I do still think De Gea is better than Henderson, regardless of what happened in the final. But I think that the Heaton's come to replace Lee Grant, and then I think another centre-back will come to replace either De Gea or Henderson. And it was going to be a big summer for Ollie to choose who is his first. And all of that. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning into the live stream. It means I can't talk now. Thank you everybody for tuning into the live stream. It means a lot. Of course, hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe down below and all of that. And of course, get your comments in, get your thoughts in the live chat. I'll read out a few more live chats before I end the stream. Today we've been talking about Jadon SANCHO, the transfer news, and all of that. What's the latest on Man United transfers? What's the latest on Jadon SANCHO and all of that? And the news that's coming out today is a holding midfielder is thought to be a Manchester United priority this summer, along with a central defender and a fresh approach for Borussia Dortmund and England forward Jadon SANCHO. So the whole news that's sort of coming out today is Jadon SANCHO is a priority, followed by centre-back, followed by CDM. But we don't know who that CDM or centre-back will be. And I think it will be centre-back before CDM. I think it'll be Sancho first, then centre-back before we get a CDM. But we know the right wing, the top priority is Jadon SANCHO, but we don't know what centre-back we're going to sign yet. Look, we want Varane, we want Koundé, it could be Pau Torres, it could be Botman, it could be Romero from Atlanta. For all we know, it could be bloody Tyrone Mings. And please, I don't want Tyrone Mings. But a holding midfielder is also thought to be a priority. There's a lot of rumours about Declan Rice, but it's all the same story from these English journalists, which makes me think that it's just Man United leaking news as a PR spin. I think if we're going to sign a CDM, I think we want a CDM. I'm sure Ollie wants a CDM, but I think if we're going to sign a CDM, it isn't going to be Rice, because I do believe Rice will stay at West Ham. This comment says, we need a good, fast centre-back. We have seen it multiple times that Lindelof has let us down in defence, especially last night, in my opinion. Lindelof's time's up. I think we all agree with that. I think we do need a good, fast centre-back. I think most people can agree with that. For me, top CDM, good, fast centre-back, and all of that. Heaton and Grant and Romero going. That is true. As Nick Morris says, that will happen for sure. Thank you everyone for tuning into the chat. Thank you for all your nice and supportive comments. Thanks for all your thoughts down below. I am going to end the live stream here. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football. I'll be trying to do pretty much daily Manchester United content throughout the transfer window. There'll be 5 streams in the evening throughout the next 2 weeks, throughout the transfer window. So I'll be very, very busy. There'll probably be a stream tomorrow night, and then probably be a stream Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. So stay tuned for that. Thanks to everyone joining in. Go subscribe to Rich Sport. Just left a comment. He does Man United podcast in the evening around 10 p.m. So make sure you subscribe to him. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hit that like button, subscribe down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.